What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show. You're a Mormon.
I am.
How does that happen?
We don't want to be known as like Mormon because Mormon was a prophet in our Book of Mormon, which we believe in. But we're followers of Jesus Christ as members of the Church of Jesus Christ. So,
Right. What was his name? Like Joseph Smith? And what was the story there?
essentially, Joseph Smith, he was a young man looking for like the truth in the times like 1820, 1830s area. And he was looking for like the true church. And he couldn't ever find it. And he said a prayer, and then he went to the woods, said a prayer, and in that moment,
I ask this to everyone with religion who's out there like preaching it and stuff, so it's no different with Mormonism. But isn't it like a little odd that religions need to go out and convince random people that this thing we believe is true, and in order for, I'll put some words in your mouth here, but in order for you to be saved or something like that, you really need to join this? Like, shouldn't it just be people decide what they decide to have peace within their soul for however long they live on this planet, and hopefully use that to treat people well and do their best?
I believe that we come from a God, and that God wants us to return with him. And then today, like the whole thing with our church is that we have evidence that God has restored his church here on the earth. And so, like, I'm not a spokesperson for the church, anything like that, but this is just like my testimony, like what I believe in. And so, as members of the church, it's our kind of responsibility to teach people that God actually did restore his church here on the earth, and that today we also have living prophets, and that we have a prophet, Joseph Smith. He's not alive anymore, obviously, but he restored the church, and then we have evidence of that, which is the Book of Mormon. Because we believe, like, after Jesus Christ was crucified, and after his apostles as well were crucified, and they were not all of them were crucified, but they also eventually died off, right? That same power, that priesthood that Jesus had and his apostles had, essentially like vanished off the earth, because there was so many different churches that came up, that sprouted up. And to have a church, you need to have like the authority of God. You need to have like his like sponsorship, basically.
Right.
And so and that's why there's so many different churches today, because once Jesus died, and all his prophets also eventually died, a lot of like religious rituals started to get changed. For instance, like baptism's different in a lot of different churches. How their priesthood is set up is also different.
Yes.
And certain things like that. And so, in order to have like the true church, like I don't believe that God's a person that has like 10 different churches, right? Like he's in every single church, but like I think he would claim one church. Like Jesus was his only begotten son, so he claimed Jesus his only begotten son, and then Jesus went around teaching everybody his word, and so he wouldn't want his word to get mixed up and spread it in 10 different churches, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And
look,
so-
in fairness to Joseph Smith, you make a good point back there that there was a separation after the apostles died between any form of religion. Like, I grew up Catholic, right? I'm not a Catholic now. I got a lot of issues with that church. I don't need to get into all that. But, you know, when you look at the roots of, like, Christianity itself, in this case, the Church of Latter-day Saints, is that right?
Yeah, Church of Jesus Christ.
All right. So it was, I want to say it was like 1840, something like that, when Joseph Smith claimed that happened.
Yeah, it's around 1820, 1830s, like when the church really started to get
right. So he believes there's like a divine thing that talked to him, and waited 1800 years and now created a church. The actual Catholic Church, though, that then ended up bearing off all these different Christian churches over the years, they claimed all their shit at the Council of Nicaea, which was in 300-something AD. I forget the exact year, but it was years after all these guys had died. And I find such issue with the evidence that all the different churches, whether it be, one that's right or the others are wrong, whatever it is, whoever it is, that we have that separation in some way, and then we rely on someone, whether it be through like a divine intervention or through writing out, the codes of the new church at the Council of Nicaea to tell us what the history was and how it exactly went down. Like, do you ever think of it? Like, is there, as someone who's like a brilliant investigator, which you clearly are with your channel, do you ever think about like, okay, would there be evidence or things that I could learn along the way that I would be open to changing my mind? I'm not trying to pressure your religion. I'm just asking like a very hypothetical type question. Guys, if you'd like to join our Patreon by hitting the link in the description below, not only does it support our show and allow us to get great guests like this and put out more content, but you're going to get exclusive access to the Julian and Alessi show, which is the show we post only on Patreon. That's with my producer, Alessi Alaman, and I, as well as some behind-the-scenes content and some extra content with guests. So hit that link in the description below, and I hope to see you over there.
No, totally. I totally agree with you. And like I went through that. Like even on my mission, there's times like especially the first few months when you're out on your mission, you're like, is this true? Like, am I walking around every day like really teaching the truth? And that's when like your testimony and like what I was saying, like those spiritual impressions need to come into your lives, and you need to like really pray about things and like realize and see like if stuff is actually true or not. And like I eventually received those spiritual impressions and like that testimony from reading the Book of Mormon, which is like evidence that Joseph Smith restored the church for us. Like some people, obviously people that don't believe in the church don't believe in the Book of Mormon, but like I do, and that's like my evidence that Joseph Smith was a prophet. He wasn't a perfect man by any means. Like if you look at the church history and like if you look at church history, like he might have done some interesting things that people
like what?
Like polygamy, for instance. But if you look at it in different ways, like you can, like I understand like where that comes from now. But if you look at it, if you just hear about it, like Joseph Smith had like I don't know exactly how many wives he had, but like he had 10 wives.
Wait, so that's not a normal thing within Mormonism now?
No, that's why we don't call ourselves Mormons anymore, because there's so many people that relate that stuff to us.
So he was the guy doing that, and then some people did it, and then it died out because people are like, we shouldn't be doing this.
So essentially it happened when he was, after a few years of starting the church, he received revelation that he needed to like take other women to be his wives. And like I believe that was because like in the Book of Mormon and in ancient times as well, like Abraham also had many wives.
Yeah.
And so I believe like there's only one scripture in the Book of Mormon that really kind of talks about why there'd be a reason for it. And it was like to bring up seed. And I was thinking, and I think about it as far as like at that period of time, he was trying to start a religion. And to start a religion, you also eventually you need like a good, strong base.
Yeah.
And so if God was able to provide a way where he could help more people understand and create a stronger church, maybe it would be by having other wives, having more kids, bringing up more seed into the church. And then from there, like there it can just keep amassing and getting bigger and bigger.
Right. So because he's the first guy, if he were able to successfully convince some women that, hey, I'm onto something here, and then has several of them, and then could, do the dirty, make sure we have more kids, now they can spread it.
There's also like it took that wasn't just right off the bat that happened. Like that was a few years into the process, and so he was already showing like that he had the church already established, and then to support more people and to help more people, like to build up that base. I believe that was something that God wanted him to do, to raise up seed, and like other men in the church did it as well. And I think there's also like a thing. If you look at religions, it's also interesting. Like us as guys, we're a lot harder to accept things. We're a lot like if someone tells us like, oh, we need to pay our tithing, as men, it's like
that.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to do that. But like I think women are more receptive to doing those certain things based off faith, and us men are kind of like, like I don't want to do that.
That's an interesting.
And so, and so I think there's a lot of men that were also reading the Book of Mormon and stuff, and I even see this on my mission, like a lot more women were more receptive to the gospel versus men. And so I think a lot more women might have been converted at that time period as well. And so there weren't as many faithful men to be husbands to these wives and to really like raise up seed, I guess. Yeah. And so I think there was like more women that were members of the church than there were men. And so like these women also needed to have husbands that were also the same.
Less to choose from. Right.
Not necessarily less to choose from, but there was like less people to support them in their needs. Like I think like nowadays, if you were to raise a house in like a split religion, it could be a lot harder like as well too.
You think so today?
Yeah, I think that's like where a lot of issues come through, like with like children and stuff. Like they're picking sides, like, oh, do I want to follow mom or do I want to follow dad?
Yeah.
And it kind of like causes controversy, I would feel.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.